Thank you for your patience, just some technical difficulties. My name is Sanya Kuda, and I'm the team lead for developer relations in EMEA. So we definitely help support all developers to get on the BlackBerry platform. And I know a lot of people are really interested in the playbook, so we're really glad to be here today. So it's been quite a long week. I don't know how many of you guys are at Mobile World Congress, but we had a great turnout there for our Developer Day. Let me give you a little bit of the insights that we talked about there. Talking about the playbook and how you can develop for that, and also for our smartphone platform. Forgive my voice, it's a little choppy. As well, my email is up here. Always happy to talk to you. If you have questions, please email us. I'm happy to just help you get up and running. So, and I'll put some links up at the end for places where you can get more information. I also have some cards if you want to pick them up. Oh boy. That's funny. We're just going to go with flow here. So just a little bit about BlackBerry. I don't know how many of you guys, anybody here is a BlackBerry developer? A little bit over here. All right, so I guess you guys need a bit of an introduction to BlackBerry. We are a worldwide presence. We have over 55 million active subscribers. And that's not just devices sold, those are people who are actively using BlackBerry. So if you're developing applications for BlackBerry, you have a very large audience that you can target. We really encourage developers to look for local applications, but also think about applications that they can release for the worldwide audience. Or maybe if you're here in Spain, maybe you're putting something out in South America as well, and really extend your reach. Some other stats, so 580 partners and distribution partners, over 175 different countries. So a lot of reach that your applications can be able to get. BlackBerry Messenger, anybody here a BlackBerry Messenger fan at all? A couple of them, very addictive. It's our own social network for mobile BlackBerry to BlackBerry use. It's part of your data plan, and people just really, it's a network of your really trusted friends, colleagues, individuals, and getting back and forth with that on the platform. We're actually going to be releasing some APIs that are going to allow developers to integrate with that platform. So that very much like a Facebook where you have games integrating and integrating with chat, kind of making your application extremely sticky, pulling together the location that you get from a smartphone and also the social aspect of the social platform. We have lots and lots of developers, always looking for more, so over 300,000. And our main distribution mechanism is AppWorld, really important to note. For Playbook, you distribute your application through AppWorld, but for the smartphone, you can actually just put up your own website and distribute your application as you wish. So AppWorld gives you instant reach to 35 million users, but you also have other flexibility as well. And the last point is the fact that we are quite a large company, 17,000, and we're all focused on one thing, which is mobile. Really enhancing that mobile experience for users, and also bring that platform to developers. I'm not sure about this. Oh boy. I'm just going to go with it. So a little bit about the BlackBerry Tablet OS. So I guess everybody here has heard about the Playbook. Yes? BlackBerry Playbook? A little bit? So this is a really great play for us, moving from the smartphone space over into tablets. Instead of trying to scale up our operating system for smartphones, which we've had for quite a long time, almost 10 years now, we went out and purchased a company called QNX, which some people call, the greatest little company that most people have never heard of. Their operating system powers some of the most robust platforms out there, whether it be trains, list goes on, space stations, the internet runs on it. And that's what we're using to bake into our tablet platform to give you a really rich experience for your applications, so your users are going to get a lot out of that. So on the BlackBerry smartphone side, we've always been a Java house. That's kind of our heart and soul for about 8 to 10 years. We've recently moved over to this, what we call the WebWorks platform, to allow web developers to create rich and compelling applications and have their applications be first-class citizens on the device. So being able to access into the same functionality that a Java or a native application can. On the tablet OS, we have a number of other platforms as well. So, of course, Adobe Air. We being able to create your application and have it run right there, packaged up. But also through our browser, we acquired a company called Torch Mobile, which brought a WebKit browser to our platform. And through there, you're going to be able to run HTML5, but also Flash 10.1. So without doing anything, I mean, you could make your own, convert your application over to an Air application, or the user can just go out to the website and run your application, your Swift file directly, your choice. There are two other, and so WebWorks also comes over to the tablet OS, and that is actually what we're calling kind of our cross-platform play. So you'll be able to create an application that runs really well for the smartphone, really well for the tablet, and be able to reuse that code across both. Of course, you're going to have to make some changes for the different input types, but for the most part, you've got a good baseline code that's going to run both on the smartphone and the tablet OS. And because it's standard web technologies, you'll be able to use it for other platforms as well, which I think is a really good win. There are two other platforms that we'll be releasing post-launch. We've talked about the launch of the tablet going to be in Q1 this year. And these two platforms will be coming a little bit later. One is Java, and one is going to be the native platform. Oh, looks pretty good. So if you've seen it, I guess I don't really have a video to show on this device. Great display. It's got a dual-core processor, which is going to allow your application to multitask and do some really creative things. And it's an amazingly zippy experience. We had a whole area at Mobile World Congress where people were able to touch and play with the playbooks, watching people run Need for Speed on that thing. I crashed a couple of times, but it's really a true gaming device, a true content consumption device. You're really not going to lose anything. It's like being on a desktop, but it's mobile. So all the things that, smartphone, we had to compromise sometimes, a much smaller screen, but with this playbook, we're really able to take your desktop experience and move it with you wherever you go. Memory, OpenGL acceleration, and of course it's built on this QNX OS. So I think I mentioned this for the most part. I think it's the idea that, it's the title, but the fact that you can create an application on Air is great, but the browsing experience is going to be top-notch. So all of that content that's already out there on the web that you've created already, we're trying to make it as simple as possible for you to port it over. So it runs, you have a little icon on the desktop, on the tablet, so you'll be able, people have an on-device presence. But you're going to be able to pull this down through the browser. And because it's HTML5, you've got audio, you've got video, you've also got your application caching, got SQLite database, everything that you need to have a really full-featured application. I'll skip that. So you're going to have a great application experience, but with BlackBerry WebWorks added onto the mix, you're going to be able to access some really core functionality of the device that maybe just a normal web application that you have already out there doesn't have access to. So you can find out things about the device. You can find out what the operating system is running. You can launch other applications. You can access into the file system. Lots of different features that are available that maybe can take your application to the next level. And one of the great things about our WebWorks platform is basically taking your web content that you've created and wrapping it in, I guess, a QNX stage web view that will just run your content through. So an actual Air application is created to be run on the device, but you don't have to worry about that. All you have to do is have your content. There's some JavaScript libraries that you can use that will call into the device, you add those in, and now you've got a fully functioning Air application without having to learn ActionScript. And another great thing is the fact that it's open source. This is a big move for BlackBerry and Research in Motion just last year at a developer conference to try and engage with web developers. If you're interested in the open source movement, we'd really like to hear from you. The great thing about this is that we no longer are tying releases of new APIs to our OS releases. Now that it's open source, you're going to see a lot more movement, a lot more enhancements to this platform. Basically, it's wrapping all of our Air APIs in JavaScript accessible methods, which means if there's one that's not there, you can help with the community to bring that to everybody else as well. So this is just a quick example of our API. I guess JavaScript docs are online. There are some methods here, some things you can access, application events, system events, accessing the file system will be coming. And there's some user interface possibilities as well, which are going to help make your web application look very much like a native application. So people aren't going to be able to tell the difference. And that's really important because people don't really care, they just really want the content. And so we want to make sure that you can take your skill set to build an application that looks and feels like just any other application on the device. So I mentioned some of the application system events. You'll be able to find out when the application is loaded, when it goes in the background. You'll be able to launch different applications like App World, which is our distribution mechanism for applications. So you'll be able to invoke App World. Maybe you've got a new version of your app that's up and you want to direct the user to that. Maybe you want to invoke another application that's on the device. System properties, like you'll be able to find out about your app and vendor name, but also what the OS version is, what the PIN number is of the device. The PIN is a unique identifier. And user interface, I mentioned, we have some dialogues, and I believe we'll be looking at bringing menus as well, just to make your application just look and feel more like what the user is expecting. These are a couple of real-world examples. These are actually WebWorks applications on the smartphone, and we talk very much with these developers, and they're definitely looking to bring them over to the playbook, which is going to be very exciting. Loco FM, which was built by a developer in Barcelona, bringing streaming radio stations to BlackBerry, all written in HTML5. The middle one was actually written by Nitobi. If you guys probably know them better as the guys that do PhoneGap. With some other ones here they can see. There's a game on the left, an HTML5 game. There's actually a website, our app store. If you go there and you search for WebWorks, we actually have a static search page which will let you see a list of all the WebWorks applications available on App World. And I think going there will give you an idea. You'll see these and quite a few more. It'll give you an idea of what's really possible. I find people are shocked to see just how much functionality they can get on the device by writing, not in native, but using web technologies purely. This is a good slide. Okay. I just wanted to mention, so that was just an intro slide, just as some APIs for Air. So we talked a bit about what works. Now I'm going to switch over to building Air applications and what kind of APIs are available. Of course, you've got, all the basic ones that you know and love. You'll be able to use whatever libraries that you use most frequently, but we also have our own APIs that we've made available to take advantage of the device. And so one of them is the idea of swipe gestures. So this is a picture of the simulator that's out and available now. This is the latest one. And basically, I wonder if I can do it here. There are no buttons on the front of the BlackBerry Playbook. So basically going from right or left, you're going to slightly minimize the app, and you'll be able to switch between apps. Swiping from the bottom, you'll be able to minimize it, and then swiping again, you can close it. Swiping from the top right corner, you'll be able to pull down this notification bar. And from the bottom left here, swiping, you actually pull up the keyboard. And just for the simulator, swiping on the latest version of the simulator, which is 0.9.3, swiping from the bottom right will actually bring up, will actually change the orientation to portrait. So you can see what happens to your application and then see what it looks like in that mode. The one swipe gesture that we've left open for developers is the one from the top. And so we encourage people to If there's something that, like a menu or something that doesn't need to be on the screen at all times, that's what you would implement and add it there. So the code's pretty simple, following the basic event listener interface rules. You get the swipe down, and you do what it is that you want to do for your application. So here, we're just clearing the window and switching to another view of our application when the person actually swipes down the application. And here is a list of a lot of device access abilities. So I suppose just a lot of application lifecycle. I'll try and get you guys the slides so you'll be able to take a look at them later. But if you go to blackberry.com/developers, which is where all of our documentation is, and it is very, very good, especially for the tablet OS, you'll be able to pull up all this information. We also have a webcast series that we did for WebWorks, and one that we did for the tablet OS for Air that you'll be able to access. So here's just another set of APIs, just pulling the operating system, pulling the device pin. The pin will be the unique identifier on the device. So if you're trying to, maybe you want to make sure that only this device has access to your code, that would be something that you would use. This is just talking about battery level. I think the next slide would be better. So you'll be able to check the actual battery state in order to find, basically just to make sure that you'll be able to listen for this event. If the battery is getting very low, maybe you're going to do something smart with your application and save the state. Just trying to be very efficient. You don't ever want to lose your users' information if they spend all this time typing information in. And so we provide some APIs to allow you to check for that. Camera capabilities, you will have access to the camera roll. You'll be able to invoke the camera. There are actually 2 cameras on the device. The front-facing and rear-facing, you'll be able to access both of them. You'll also be able to access the pictures on the device that the camera is taking. And this is, as you can see, of course, is the accelerometer API. You'll be able to tell how the device is moving. But this is just part of Hero. Can't even, I'm not going to guess what this slide is. Application. Oh, there's no clue from the picture.
Multitask?
Oh, try another try. Application lifecycle. Yes. So there will be events fired when the application is invoked. So I talked about invoking other applications. Your application may be invoked, so you'll be able to find that out and do something different perhaps. When your application comes to the foreground, to the background, I'm going to leave it at that. File APIs, the one thing, you actually do need to see it, but they're kind of 3 different file directories that you have access to, well, 2 that you have access to. One is where your application is actually installed. The other is some storage area for your application. And the third one is kind of a general area where you find pictures and media, things that applications would share. So you will have your own storage facility within your application that no other application can access. There'll be a place specifically for your application, and then there'll be this general area. Excellent. And there's a database. Next. So yes, you have access to SQLite, whether that be through HTML5, or you're going through Air and using those APIs to access the database. There's also the concept of shared object, of course. Now you've got a lot of different ways to store your information, depending on what it is that you want to do for your app. And I think this might be the last one, is Activity Indicator. Just a couple of little APIs that we provided to give you access to UI elements that will make your app seem more like a native application. So this is just an activity indicator. I mean, you guys are developers. If you're doing anything that's going to take more than a split second or a couple of seconds, you just want to give your user a prompt to make sure they understand that your application isn't frozen, just waiting for something. So just a couple little pieces like that. I'm going to see what the next slides look like. I think this is, we're going up, oh boy. Yes, yes, love orange. There are only a couple more slides, I think. I'm going to take some questions. That might be easiest. So, we've talked about the different platforms, your different options for building applications. So, for launch, we're talking about Q1 for launch. You have WebWorks, you've got Air, and now you've also got, maybe just get them to access you through the browser. Really cool, there should be a knowledge base article going up soon, which is there's a way to create kind of a web icon. So you don't actually have to code anything. All you have to do is create a configuration file, put the URL to your site, and there's a command line tool that will actually create an app just out of this config file and point to your website and open it within a Chromeless browser. So it looks like an app. And that's without doing any coding whatsoever. All of a sudden you've converted your app to something that you can sell on the App Store. So our App Store is BlackBerry App World. It's been around for just, gosh, almost 2 years now. And just this week we announced that we're available in 28 more countries. So we're now up to 101, which is a pretty extensive reach for us. And we're looking to add as many more as possible this year. 6 languages, 21 currencies, and over 35 million App World users. So, although on the smartphone you can distribute your application on your own website, and some people do, and they're quite happy to do that, getting your app on the App Store gets you in front of all of these guys. And you can work with us to get on the feature carousel, make a request, and get your app, really in front of the people that care about it. Just with 2.1, which is the latest version, we have a version of the App Store now so that the feature carousel is localized. So if you have an app that's specific to Spain, and you would be able to get up on the feature carousel just for Spain. And that's going to drive a lot of downloads to your application. We have over 2 million downloads of apps a day, which is pretty excellent considering that we have just over 20,000 apps. So if you do the math, apps on our platform are getting a lot of visibility in front of our users. And this is an interesting, you guys may, because there's maybe 1 or 2 BlackBerry developers here, the fact that 75% of app downloads are on OS 5.0 and above. And that's basically the devices that we've released in the past year and a half. So it's these new users that have these new devices, and that accounts for over 45% of our smartphone devices right now are downloading these apps. They care about it, they have the App Store on their device, and they're interested in looking for more content from you guys. With 2.1, now I guess with 2.0, before 2.0, which came out in the summer, we only had PayPal. So really happy to say we have credit card billing, we're seeing a great uptake there. There's also a big push into carrier billing. Really taking away that hesitation point from users to making that click to say, yes, buy your app. And when you add that with the payment service, which is our in-app payment mechanism, which just launched this past month, it means that you'll have a more steady revenue stream possibility. You don't just have to think about, is my app going to be free? Is it going to be paid? I can think about maybe I'll make it free. I'll get them some functionality, I'll get them to like my application, and then I'm going to sell something else that they may want. Maybe it's an extra game level, maybe it's a digital good, but you get to have more flexibility on exactly how you want to price your application. And I guess the biggest point, which is actually hiding a little bit, is that right now it's actually free for you to become a vendor on App World, and it's also free for you to submit applications. So if you're interested in submitting applications to BlackBerry App World, and I'll show you this slide now where that should give you a good reason to do that, it's not going to cost you anything in terms of setting up on the vendor portal. So I mentioned this a bit, in-app payments. The API is really dead simple. We've just brought it over for the tablet OS as well. So you'll be able to add this in quite quickly. Advertising service is another way that you can make money. I don't believe this is going to be in the tablet OS for launch, but it is available on smartphones and it will be coming shortly. This is actually a 60-40 split with developers. The app world and the payment service are 70-30, which is pretty much standard in the industry for both of these. And the important thing here is just we're not an advertising company or a mobile company. So we actually work with a mediation platform. We have a third party that deals with this. What we want from them is really easy, drop-dead simple code that developers can add into their app to get advertising. It's actually 3 lines of code, and you're done. And then you deal with which one of these vendors you want to deal with on the, who you want to send you ads. So, and we have an advertising portal where you can specify that. But it's really kind of outside of us. We're more of a mobile company than an advertising company. But we recognize this as a need for developers in order to make cash. So this is where you can find information about the BlackBerry Tablet OS. It's really quite simple. It's blackberry.com/developers. There'll be a list of different types. We have Tablet OS, we have WebWorks. Go for Tablet OS or WebWorks. In terms of the BlackBerry development community, we're on Twitter, @BlackBerryDev. We also have a developer blog. Really important now since we're still in beta. We're actually releasing new simulators, we're releasing new SDKs quite frequently. So staying in touch and subscribing to our developer blog, which is devblog.blackberry.com, will get you the latest information. What else is up there? We also have BlackBerry, GRIM moderated forums. So we like the community to get together and help each other out. But we are there to kind of step in and help out when you're running into roadblocks. So definitely check it out. This is 0.9.3. This is the latest simulator and SDK that we just released. Some cool things that are there. Finally, there's a browser app. People have been asking us that for quite a while now. So you can take the browser app, find out what the user agent is, run some of the cool tests out there, HTML5 tests. And see just how your app is actually, your web content is going to run. A few more things, splash screens, the payments API actually made it into that build. And actually, which just went live yesterday, is a BlackBerry signing tool for your application. So in order to get your application onto a device, a real device, it has to be signed. And we have a specific signing server for smartphones, but we needed something a little bit different for the playbook. And now that's available. If you've already submitted an app to App World, you will need to sign it before it can be distributed. But the signing keys are actually free. So definitely check it out. The URL is right there. But you can access it from blackberry.com/developers. Everything blackberry.com/developers is, oh wait, no, it's gone. So I think this is my last slide. It looks really good too. So it's good to end on a high note. This is the free BlackBerry Playbook offer. How many people have heard of this offer? Be truthful. Nobody? Well, a couple of people. Well then, it's probably the best reason I'm happy to be here today, because whenever I go around, people always say, I need a free playbook. How can I get a free playbook? I want a free playbook. This is how you get a free playbook. All you have to do is write or convert over an Adobe Air application for Playbook, or build a WebWorks application for Playbook. You submit it to the App Store. If the App Store accepts it, so Hello World most likely won't be accepted, just saying. If you build it, submit to the App Store. As I mentioned, App World submissions are now free. If you do that by March 15th and it's accepted, we will ship you a playbook. I'm so glad the slide looks nice. So read that, please do. I think you still have almost a month. I can tell you I gave this talk in London in December, I gave it on a Thursday. I gave out some cards. One of the developers contacted me on Friday. I pointed them to the webcast series, which will walk you through installing the tools, getting set up, a couple of little APIs, and by Saturday, he just sat down and watched all that stuff, read the documentation, and he sent me the FAR file, the completed application, on Sunday morning. So if you already have an app out there, it's actually quite simple to go and get yourself a playbook. And we'd love to see a lot of local Spanish apps. So please do check that out. I want you to look left and look right. All those people thinking, I'm going to do this tonight, they're probably not. So this could be yours. So you do it. But this is your best way to get one. And that's my last slide. If you have questions, please come by and ask me. I've got some business cards. Always happy to talk to you guys. And definitely check out the developer blog and sign up for that. All the latest information will always be there. And you'll be able to keep on top of the latest and greatest. So thank you very much.
I will also just add that we will send out an email from Sanyu to give you all the contact information and key information about reminders for how to get the playbook, also dates and times and how to go through the process so that you can get started straight away. Any questions? You can ask your questions in Spanish and we will have them translated, or try and understand.
Is it possible to add AdWords using an either application?
AdWords. So Google?
No, sorry, just ads.
Yes. So the advertising is the question. Stay a while. So the advertising service, this is something we make available to developers. You do not have to use it at all. I think that's one of the great parts of BlackBerry or Research in Motion is we try to have just an open ecosystem, right? So we're going to make the service as good as possible to make you want to, but you have a choice, absolutely.
But it's easy to integrate into Adobe Air application.
So advertising will not make launch for the Adobe Air, I don't believe. I'm going to have to double check on that. There was actually an email thread on that. But the payment service was just released. But we're still in beta and we're adding things to the SDK all the time. So Developer Blog is a place to keep checking and see what's available. If it doesn't make launch, it will be out soon after.
Yeah, and in addition, as Sanyu mentioned, you have the option of using existing advertising services. So, some of the partners that are mentioned already on the slides, you could go directly to them. They may have a web API which you can use and integrate. I'm sure there are plenty of examples of those online.
Question?
Can we see a demonstration of the playbook?
It's at home. I don't have one with a proper build on it. How's that?
The ones that we have software that haven't been shown yet, and so it's not approved, so unfortunately we can't show it.
But if you want to see a playbook,
Well, my dad is about how Flash is a Flash app is working on the playbook. Like,
So I can take that. I mean, the integration of Flash and Air on the Playbook platform is really second to no other platform that we've seen so far. The team at QNX and RIM have integrated Flash so closely to the hardware that performance is actually incredible. I used the term that I sent an HD video to the device and it just laughed at me. And you compare that to existing mobile platforms that support Flash and Air, it's it's a much easier experience. And I think that's what Sandy mentioned earlier, is that people who have existing content, that maybe it's an Air application or a Flash application that they've created, to move that to the playbook requires basically no work. It's literally a packaging effort and just making sure things fit well within the tablet experience. And of course, if you want to use the extra APIs that under the Kunix domain, you can do as maybe a secondary version. But the initial version, again, you have 2 weeks really to get your application submitted. So I would go for version 1 and take it from there.
Para que te hagas una idea, yo en una de estas ventanas he visto funcionando Quake 3 Arena.
Sí, he visto el vídeo de Internet.
O sea,
Lo que pasa es que, bueno, mi caso concreto, ¿vale? Es que estamos haciendo una aplicación con panoramas 3D Flash online y buscábamos alguna tablet que las que hemos probado hasta ahora para
pero te va a funcionar bien en el Playbook, creo yo, ¿eh? Porque yo he visto Flash 3D también cortando y funcionaba muy bien.
No, yo también quería hablar un poquito de la persona, de cómo es el desarrollo. Realmente el rendimiento es información. O sea, pensar que el Flash está muy integrado a muy bajo nivel. O sea, empezar casi a formar una capa de sistema operativo. Entonces, el rendimiento es muy bueno. Para ver, una aplicación 3D es relativo. La aplicación 3D se te puede ahorrar en términos de rendimiento hasta en el PC.
Sí.
Con lo cual será un caso muy específico, pero el rendimiento es muy alto.
Does Playbook needs a download a runtime to run Air applications? It's integrated.
It's fully integrated. It's integrated. You don't have to do anything. It'll run it from the moment it starts.
And to be clear, it's Air 2.5, and that's the version that will be on the playbook at launch, so you should target that version for getting your application and
And I'd say, we do have other runtimes available. WebWorks, talk about native and Java coming. Air is the native one for the playbook. That is the de facto.
How's it going to work? Adobe releases a new upgrade for Air. How's it going to work the upgrade process to integrate on that's one?
Yeah, I can answer that. So we have a process that OEMs can take to deliver new versions of the runtime. One is that the runtime can be delivered over the air. In the case of the Playbook platform, the runtime is heavily integrated into the operating system, which is obviously a benefit. So that means that when the Playbook platform requires an update, or maybe a couple of bug fixes and new features, that update will come as part of a new operating system update.
¿Others? ¿No más?
So I've got some cards if you guys, as you're leaving, if somebody wants, have other questions, they want to send an email, happy to talk to you. So it's just the start of the conversation, I hope. So thank you.